Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Deceptor Lab. This is your boy Freeze coming at you with the con highlight of the week. And honestly, man, I took a week off last week. Had a lot of things going on, both in game and in real life. And I also took a little bit of a short vacation. Went up with some of my buddies up to Pittsburgh to go check out the NCAA tournament. Had a really great time this weekend. And just so happened to fall on the weekend of an individual event, so I didn't press the event too hard, but I did get a chance to go out there and enjoy some good times and see some basketball games with my buddies. So I was really happy to kind of just get a little bit of a break for a second. But I'm back now. I'm going to go on with our regular scheduled content, and so I'm not going to waste you guys this time. We're going to get right into it. And today's con highlight of the week is going to be none other than Astro-Train. So got him up here, just kind of chilling up here on my game screen. Right now, I've got him set up with Crater Maker. It's a combat bot. I actually showed you what I got there. And so, you know how I like to do on the con highlight. I like to talk about the strengths, weaknesses, so on and so forth. So I actually have the 4-star and the 5-star version. Right now, I'm looking at my version that I have on the test server, just so that later on, when I go run a couple of examples, I can go ahead and, I can use those coins for running just different tactics through whenever I get ready to go in there and actually do attacks. But for right now, I got this is one of many loadouts that I'll use for Astro-Train, Alpha Trion. And so here's the thing. Well, I'll go through his strengths and weaknesses first. So, I mean, I think overall is about, a little backstory. Astro-Train was my very first 4-star. And then I actually got him in here also. So let me pull him up. Yeah, and that's about where I have him at currently. I've run a few more battles than that on my live server, so he'd be a little bit more powerful, but somewhere still in that 64 range, not quite maxed out yet, but I still use him. And when I talk about the strengths for Astro-Train, one of the things that I do, because I had him on my war team for quite some time, until I started to get other 5-stars and other bots that I felt were a little bit more valuable. But I did use him for a long time, and one of the things that I feel like is an advantage is he's got good range for his aerial support ability, which you can see right here on the bottom left of his description. And so I have him up there at level 8, and just a little bit of healing. I don't necessarily care too much about the healing with him in this particular loadout. And the reason why I say in this particular loadout is because some of the power cores that I'll talk about in a little bit, they change. So we'll talk about the healing aspect a little bit more. But the fact that this particular ability, and I'll go give a quick example. This particular ability is pretty good for just making them portable, sending them where you want them to go. So I'll use the example. I plugged them back into my war team temporarily, and I'm going to take myself off of the camera real quick so we can go through just a quick scenario of what he's useful for. So I'm just going to go ahead and put him in zone 15 real quick, because just really doing this for example purposes. Like I said, I took him out of my war team quite a little bit ago. Just as I started to get other bots, I got like 5-star Impactor, and I got like, a couple other 5-stars, 5-star Tantrum. I started moving guys around in my war team, but I did use him for several years, and he did good by me. I had a lot of good times using Astro-Train. So one of the things that I like to do, and I wouldn't do it exactly like this because it's crowded in the back of the HQ, but just for example's sake, I'll take one of my sack bots and get them to the back, especially if it's a base that's not really defended very well in the back. And then you can just launch Astro-Train in behind them. In this particular case, It didn't work out the way I wanted to because Ramjet died while I was talking. But you can always use him for what they call that jump strategy. So since he died that particular time while I was talking, I'll actually run it again. And so I'm using it with Ramjet just because I use him. I got him a little bit more powerful. If you've seen my previous videos, you know that I mess with Ramjet really heavily. And so if I'm going to use a sack bot, that's the strongest one I got. That's the one I'm going to try to use. But when we talk about a jump strategy, it's basically just getting the bot. A lot of times people will use dead end and Astrotrain together. I don't have a 4-star dead end. I do have a 3-star, and I have used them before. But it's for this particular strategy. But because I don't have him at a really high level, I don't use him often in my teams. Alright, so in this particular case, I'm going to try to get Astrotrain to follow up on Ramjet up there at the top of the screen. And the key thing is get him up there before he dies. But like I said, this is not the exact way that I would use him. But if I didn't have a lot of defenses near the back of the HQ, then that's why I would just jump Ramjet over. And technically it's supposed to be a healing attack. But realistically speaking, it's I'm just using it as a way to transport Astrotrain to the point of attack. So that's what I'm really looking at. So just to kind of put a visual to what it is that I was talking about when I was describing his ability. As you can see, his secondary ability with him being a triple changer is just for him to go in and use his defensive perimeter to kind of add a little bit of additional damage and a little bit of stun for, in this case, 5 seconds. Yeah, and then when you go and improve his ability, then it just winds up adding to the damage as you continue to add. And so as you continue to use the attack. So one thing, a little bit of a history lesson with Astrotrain, he used to just drop those rockets, and that was the attack. That defensive perimeter was just you dropping those rockets onto opposing defenses, and basically he got a buff, and the buff added a stun to him. So I'll talk about a little bit later why I like that they added that stun to him and what my uses for that stun are specifically. But right now I'm just kind of taking a look at his 2 special abilities. So when you upgrade the aerial support, the healing amount goes up. I mean, it's pretty decent to go to one bot. Like, this is at level 8. At level 9 it goes up to 2,500. It's not too bad. It's not something that I look at as being like a lifesaver in terms of adding health to that bot, but it is pretty instant, so it can be helpful in some of those tough situations. Like, say you got most of the back end of a base cleared out, and then you drop Astrotrain in to help for 2 reasons: to try to get some additional health to the original bot that you use for that jump strategy, and also to add some additional attack. So that's one of the things I'm looking for when I'm looking at Astrotrain. As far as power cores go, in this particular case, I just stuck Alpha Trion on them. So I'll be honest with you, when I look at them statistically, the damage is decent. It's not spectacular. It's not off the charts for damage, and the health is definitely not spectacular. So I don't really see a lot of value in adding power cores, attack power cores, anything like that. Anything that's going to add to the DPS, anything like that. Anything that's really going to add to the health like that. With the exception is that there was a point in time when I was running them on my war team, and I would use the Micronus core. And the reason why I would do that is because primarily what I wanted to do is have a healer that's going to be portable. And so I'm going to go flip over to my power course real quick so we can take a look at my Cronus. Alright, so I'm going to go into my prime cores. Right now you can see I've got my Cronus core maxed out on block. And so that's 2.4%, excuse me, health to all nearby teammates, and that's every 5 seconds. So what I would do is I would take Astrotrain with my Cronus core, and if I found some of my teammates getting in trouble, I would fly them across. And I'll actually show you a strategy with that here in a little bit. I'll just move some cores around. So I'm going to take a look at the jump strategy again, see if I can actually catch a base that's kind of got some it's kind of got, you know, a little bit of empty space in the back there, and that's when it's useful. So it becomes one of those things where Ramjet is a very situational bot, but it's a bot that you can use if you get them at a decent level to try to finish off defenses or headquarters pretty easily. Like in this particular case, this wouldn't be a good base for it because all of your outposts are in the back there. So let me see if I can actually find me a good one here to show you a good situation when you should use it. Alright, so let's see. And honestly, what I might do, I'll drop it down a couple zones. I'll drop it down to zone 13 because typically those are the bases that I see a lot of. I see a lot of those. The base is not defended as well in the back because it's not as many. It's not as many items on defense. This one I can probably work with. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bring my sack bot and get Ramjet still out there on the side. And in this particular case, I should be able to avoid most of the outpost, if not all of the outposts. So I'll bring him up, allow him to start tearing down some of those defenses in the back. And then Astrotrain will just come in there and give him a boost. And as you can see, they're ripping down that back half of that base pretty quickly. And it's just going to sit there and just take out the HQ from the back end there, skipping past all the outposts, skipping past a lot of the defenses that we would have had in the front, skipping past those spider mines down there in the bottom. And if you get off course, you can just take your sack bot and send him straight to HQ, and Astrotrain will give him a boost, and then, you know, kaboom, the building goes down. So it's not one of those things, like I said, it's very situational, but it is something that you can use. It is something that you can use to kind of help you out a little bit. Try to help you out and try to help you get HQ down quickly and try to help you with some of those duos that you can use. So a couple other bots that I would say that you would use with that. I already mentioned Dead End, Dive Bomb. Dive Bomb's another good one, which you can use Dive Bomb same way that I was just using Ramjet, and then it's kind of have Astrotrain follow up. Let's see who else. Deathsaurus is another good one. When I'm just looking at him, Deathsaurus is you know, same type strategy. I think in one of my previous videos I might have already shown what for Snapdragon is another good one. Snapdragon's a really good one just for the fact that when you go use this Mach 3, you don't necessarily pop outpost bots right away, and so that gives you an opportunity, kind of like I did on this last attack, where hey man, I'm gonna skip right past all the outposts if they're poorly positioned. So let's see. You also, one of the other things you can do is if you get into trouble and your team is starting to wear out toward the back half of a base, you can kind of delay using Astrotrain to allow him to come in there for the final attack, which is really good if you need a little boost late in battles. All right, so actually, the other thing I wanted to point out, so I was talking earlier about the Micronus coil, and one of the things that I was talking about with that particular coil is using them and making Astrotrain into a portable healer. And so what I'll do is I'll actually change that coil and put it on Astrotrain now. I'm gonna equip it onto my 5-star. But I originally put Alpha Trion up there just for the purpose that I try to put Alpha Trion on war-worthy bots, but I try to put them on bots that I don't really see a use from any other power core. And so that's how I wind up with, when I had on my war team, that's how I wound up using Alpha Trion for a period of time until I got my Cronus, and then I said, hey, I'm gonna try to use it to try to add some additional healing to the team. Alright, so I'm gonna try to go in the prime zone this time. Let's see how that goes. And I'm gonna go ahead and take myself out of the camera for a bit. So this one's actually another one that's not gonna be too bad in terms of getting to that back layer. So I'm gonna try it with Astrotrain again. And then I might pop, okay, I popped one outpost. I'm gonna go to the shield generator. And so another part that I like about Astrotrain, so I'm gonna get here with my Cronus Cool, add a little bit of healing, but then I can use defensive perimeter for the majority of the defenses that are still back there. Add a little bit of damage to them, but also stop them from shooting at you. In this particular case, probably not going to make it because I'm just doing this as an example. But you kind of get the point at this point from seeing him use the jump attack. A lot of times what I do is when I fly him to the back half of a base like that, I'll use the defensive perimeter as a means to try to take out some of the defenses. So if you look right here, you can see that I've got a beam laser, a mortar. I've got a couple of auto cannons that will be in range once I come a little bit further up down the towards the HQ. But the biggest thing that really beat me right there is that healing core is getting everything back up to strength. Kind of anticipated that, but just wanted to give another example of how I use that strategy. You can do the same thing with a lot of the other bots that I mentioned as well. And the other thing that I wanted to look at was combat bot pairings. And so in this particular case, you can already see I had my level 10 Crater Maker on this Astrotrain. And you know, this is another one that it's difficult to make good combat pairings with. I used Crater Maker at first because I was one of the original, when I first started actually getting into war teams, I wanted everybody to have Crater Maker. I think I talked about it on these videos, on one of these other videos before. But yeah, I put Crater Maker on them for another purpose also, and I'll talk about it here in a second. So depending on the type of team build that I have, and like right now I'm still using my war team or a variation of my war team. But one thing that I like to do is, and it depends on the base, like I said, Astrotrain is very situational, is I'll actually run Astrotrain on the opposite side of where I run the rest of my team. And there's two reasons why I would do that. Is because one, he's still going to be portable, and so I can just go up there and make sure that I can use that as a means of pathing. I don't want these guys to get up here and these little honeycombs in the beginning and start veering off to the right. I want them to advance the playfield. So Astrotrain will just continue destroying everything on that right hand side. The other reason that I do that is because he can just jump back over whenever he's done. And so that's just one of those nice to have things, knowing that he's gonna be able to rejoin the team. And so you get another option to help you a little bit with pathing. in this particular case, I probably would rather do that with the Alpha Trion core attached to any other power core I have attached. I don't want to waste the healing on my Cronus, but he does rejoin the team eventually. So that's one of the reasons why I use Crater Maker, so I can try to use him to just kind of go over the walls and attack some of those things in a situation like where I was just looking at, where I don't want my team to veer off to the right. But let's see if there's anything else I could think about right now for Astrotrain. Like I said, that was my first 4-star, and so I found myself a lot of times trying to just force a round peg through a square hole with him sometimes, just for the fact that A, he was one of the only strong bots that I had, and B, when you just invest into a bot like that, you have a tendency to want to use them. But as I started to have multiple 5-star bots and multiple 4-star bots, then that's when I said, all right, I'm gonna move on from them. But I still do use them in certain situations. The other thing that I like about him is if you look at my outpost, I actually had Astrotrain on defense, and the reason why I do that is actually, let me go back to my own base trial. One of the reasons why I do that is because of the defensive perimeter, and so I like to use that ability to kind of keep bots in place and just add a little bit of damage from the defenses when I go up there. Now, granted, when you're doing any kind of stun attack, you're always vulnerable to like vertebreak or anything like that. You can always, like in certain cases, I can just kind of take like a ramjet and go right past them. But what I like about that is that rocket is still going to follow him, but it is one of those things that can be easily manipulated, because as I'm doing right now, I just let ramjet just stay there, and now I've used all the Astrotrain's rockets, and then it becomes less effective that way. So for me, I like to catch people off guard. So a lot of times what'll happen, if someone's attacking my base on a normal base attack, where it's not necessarily like a war attack, because on a war attack, everybody obviously can scout you. They can see, what bots you have before that play even starts, before that attack even starts. But when people are going into my base blind, and the first thing they see is Astrotrain, no matter where you go, actually I'm going back to base trial, but wherever you go on that map, Astrotrain is going to follow you, and I'll try to see if I can get a good example of that here in a second. I'm going to actually take my motion seeking mine, and I'm going to move it out of the way so I can try to run Astrotrain again and get him a little bit further up the battlefield. So yeah, like what I'll do this time, I'll use ramjet again. Alright, so in this case, I don't have the motion seeking mine there, so I will just bring ramjet out. And one of the things that I want to highlight is that no matter where I go now, so now I'm all the way at the top of the screen, and Astrotrain just follows him. Granted, Deathsaurus already got him at this point, but he is gonna follow him, and he is gonna drop his rockets wherever it is that ramjet goes. So for that reason, I like using them on defense, at least until I get another option. Like some of the options that I want to try to put on defense, I wouldn't mind having like a Guy Hawk down there, somebody that can freeze, or I wouldn't mind like I want to try to build my Soundwave up to try to get him in that spot, because I've got his bot specific core, so his G1 core, so I can go in there and make those minions stun every time one of them is destroyed. So, but yeah, that's all I really had. I just wanted to go and kind of show that highlight on what it is that ramjet can do. And honestly, I still use them. I just use them situationally at this point. It was at one point where I was like one of my go-to bots, but I was like my first 4-star, so I was one of my strongest bots at the time until I started realizing, hey, there's guys out here with better damage. There's guys out here with better health, and so on and so forth. But for what you get out of them from a range standpoint on that healing ability, I feel like the air support ability is very, very effective to try to help for cleanup, for a cleanup type tactics. But other than that, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. I'm actually going to record my second video for the week here in a bit. And that video, I'm actually going to start talking about if I was building a 5-star batch, and I'm talking about if I was building a 5-star batch today, what that 5-star batch would look like. So look forward to that. I think I'm going to drop that video on Wednesday this week. I'm trying to shoot for the Wednesdays. But you know how I do. I usually do Wednesday or Thursday, but usually at the same time. I try to do them at 6 p.m., 11 UTC. So look forward to that. And tell me what you think. What do you think about Astrotrain? Do you had any different experiences, any different ways that you use them, other than the ways that I just showed? As always, you can drop a comment in the comment section, or if you are part of my Discord, which if you want to go join my Discord server, we got that link in the about section of my YouTube channel, and you can join us there. We're actually having a lot of good conversations in there. We were having a conversation today about ability 11s. So it's always some good stuff to talk about involving the game in that particular chat. But all right, so I'm gonna head back to the battlefield. Hopefully I see you guys out there, and if you haven't already, please subscribe, and also please give the video a like if you enjoy the content. But as far as this week's con highlight, that's what I got for you. And I'm still taking suggestions for more con highlights for upcoming weeks. I still got a long list to go through, but if you got one that you want to see, let me know. But all right, guys, see you on the battlefield. Freezy is out.